good morning. My name is Brooke, and I'll be sharing about tap dance with you today. I'm interested in tap dance because I did it until I came here, and there are quite a few world music applications. So, the first thing is geography. There are roots in West Africa, in England, and in Ireland, and we'll go into a little more detail about each of those here in a moment. It's been noted as a 300-year musical and social exchange. So tap dance is something that incorporates multiple types of cultures into one. And then there's several different ideas on how tap dance really began. I have read one idea about how English and Irish settlers came through New York, like in Ellis Island and that area, and that's kind of where some of this began. And then also more south, where slaves would have been, and then workers on American riverboats in the Mississippi River tap dance. So those are three main ideas, like in the South, in New York, and then on the Mississippi River. And then of course we know that it made its way into film and Broadway. So the first thing I would like to share with you is African step dance. Let's see. And thanks to Tori for helping me make these videos. How can I?
I'm not sure what happened.
Might have to do. It says it's playing. We'll just do this.
Is it showing on your screen?
It is. How can I make that?
Hit the Windows. And
Okay.
Windows key and hold in the letter P.
Windows key.
And then P. And then duplicate.
Duplicate. Okay, thank you.
I don't know why it does that.
Oh,
Something about
did
video.
that work?
Yeah.
Okay. Here we go. Okay. I'm not really sure how to use this. Okay, so as you can see, that was an example of African step dance. So what were some instruments used in that presentation? Which, as Tori told me, was probably overlaid music, so it's not as critical. But what were some of the instruments? Possibly guitar, yeah. Maybe some rattles and some drums. And you can't really hear their feet in this, but their feet are obviously that's the key part of what's going on there is their feet. Next. Oh, no, okay. Here we go. This is British English clogging.
Dancing the jigs.
Dancing the That little boy is cute.
They danced in clogs. Clogs with leather for uppers and wood for the soles. They danced the old traditional dances of Wales, and they added to them many of the
Okay, so you can see those kind of resemble more like tap shoes, and the other I think they were barefoot or something, but we couldn't hear them. So that's the British or English clog.
dancing.
And then now this is Highland dancing, and I'll show you this. And beware, there's bagpipes, and they're really kind of hard to listen to. don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. Come on.
I hate that now, Steve, so you and I are on the same.
There we go. Okay, I'll just cut that short. So you get the idea. But I was blessed to be able to go on a mission trip last spring to Northern Ireland. Luke did just this year. But something that I learned about Ireland is there's a really harsh division between Protestants and Catholics there. And so when we went, of course, we were trying to share about like having a relationship with Jesus, not just what side are you on and what community you're a part of. So Americans were seen as kind of outside of that, which was helpful to us. And we went into some Protestant schools and some Catholic public schools and shared. But in a Protestant school one day, they let us stay after and learn how to do Highland dancing. And something that Protestants do is they hold their hands above their head, but then Catholics hold them below. So that we were in a Catholic city in a parade at the end of our trip, and with a church, and we started doing our dance just kind of for fun between us, and they told us don't do that. You know, it was before we were around any people, which was good, but they told us not to do that because that shows that you were around Protestants. Because just the way that we were holding our hands. They also have differences in the names they call certain cities. Like there's one place called Londonderry or Derry, depending on whether you're Protestant or Catholic. So it's just interesting. You can talk to people and realize whether they're Protestant or Catholic. And dancing is one of those things. No. Okay. I'm sorry. So as far as the style goes, the tap shoes could be considered an instrument, I think. It's very important to the rhythm. So when you hear this, you heard bagpipes and shoes. And the other you heard, in the African you did not hear. But in the English clogging, I think it was some sort of string. Is that right? Okay, and then shoes. Yes. And then it's appealing to the eyes and the ears. So you can see the dance, but you can also hear it. If you can hear a ballet dancer, something is probably wrong. It's a soft thing, but tap is more, you want to hear it. Again, big emphasis on rhythm and improvisation. I'd like to talk about that in a moment in comparison to jazz. So there's some set moves to build from, and then offbeats are important. It could be compared to flamenco, Irish step dancing, and Indian classical dance. Growing up, when I chose to do tap dance, I couldn't help but to share this video. Let's see here. Okay. This is Molly, an American girl, and this is set in one of the world wars. And you can see it's really purely American, it seems. That's her dad. She hasn't seen him yet. Okay. the intended function of history, this is a sad part of tap dance history, is that African slaves on the ship when they were brought over were at times forced to dance just to stay fit and keep their muscle mass. That's not something I really wanted to share, but it's just a part of the history. It began as a form of expression, which we talked about all of those, and it developed as people of Irish and West African background met, especially in dance halls, and became a part of some films. Singing in the Rain would be an example of those types of films, and then has always been a people's dance, a street dance. So tap dance did not come out of some fancy art school somewhere or something like that. It came out of just people coming together and having their own backgrounds and making tap dance. It's thoroughly American like jazz. So some things that make tap dance so actually American is we can kind of see that it's more upbeat and you can kind of feel the freedom. But also some of those set moves that are built for the improvisation would be there's steps called the Cincinnati, there's steps called the Shirley Temple or the Buffalo for Buffalo, New York. So the steps are American cities a lot of times. And some major performers are Gene Kelly, Fred Astaire, and Jane Goldberg. One quick video here. This is with Gene Kelly in it.
Now that's what I call following the
Okay. So types of songs, like I mentioned, Singing in the Rain, and then in that Molly movie, that was an American Girl movie. But there's other films that have tap dance in them, and then, like I mentioned, also it's really related to jazz and then Motown. I think it would be incomplete if I didn't show you a few of the moves, even though I don't have my tap shoes with me. So I mentioned the Buffalo, which is like named after Buffalo, New York, and that's just like, and then the Shirley Temple is like this. And I think that's good for now. But did you all have any questions about tap dance or just any questions about it at all? About Ireland or?
How many years did you study?
I started in, I think 7th grade maybe. I started jazz in 5th. Yeah. Tap is very, so of course there's those set moves to build from, and it's supposed to be more free, more improvisation. Something I've recognized in our culture as Americans is that we're very much kind of want to have a plan. Our time is very planned out, like every hour of the day, and we want to be super productive. And it seems like in other countries that it's more, I'll see you around evening time sometime, not a specific 6 o'clock. And I think I see that in the dance as well. So with like the English clog and the Irish step dance, it's very set. The moves, it seems like, are very precise. But then as you saw in the African step dance, it was more free improvisation. People just jump in there and do what they want. So it's kind of a mix of both. I prefer to have choreography, step by step by step, know exactly what's going to happen.
All right.
Thank you.
Excellent.